But in our minds, it's like it doesn't really affect us because we're kind of desensitized. But when you're actually there, it's different because you can actually hear the screams. Like the frequency of how they're screaming is a lot different on television versus when you're actually there. It's a lot different when you actually smell the blood, you smell the shit, you smell death. Like you smell that shit. It's a lot different when that shit's spraying on your face. And because now it's not just a visual receptive, it's true audio plus like sensatory of smell, maybe even taste. Maybe the shit flies in your mouth. You know what I'm saying? I mean, some smell could be so wretched that you could taste it through your mouth. You know what I'm saying? So and I've heard people saying like, I mean, you would smell like that if you're working in a slaughterhouse. You'll smell like that for days.
Welcome to another episode of the Plant Fueled Podcast. I'm Callum, your dedicated plant-based nutritionist, and the voice you just heard belongs to none other than Korin Sutton, a true embodiment of strength, determination, and vegan advocacy. In today's episode, we delve deep into Korin's journey, uncovering the pivotal moments that shaped him into the influential vegan bodybuilder and activist that he is today. From his rigorous days in the military to his passion of activism, we explore the spark moment that propelled him towards embracing a plant-based diet and the remarkable transformation that followed. Korin shares his insights on effective workouts, how to navigate the challenges posed by online trolls, and the power of community in spreading the vegan message. In this episode, it's more than just conversation. It's an inspiring tale of transformation, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of one's conviction. It's a testament to what can be achieved when passion meets purpose, and I can't wait for you to hear it. Before we dive in, a small request. While our listener base continues to grow, it seems that the number of star ratings and reviews hasn't quite caught up. If you find value in what we're doing here, please consider leaving a review or a rating on your preferred platform. It's a small gesture that means a lot to me. It also helps new listeners to find the podcast, spread the message further, and enables us to continue bringing you the content and the guests that inspires, educates, and empowers us all. Thank you so much for your support, love, and being part of this journey with us. Remember, every small change contributes to a larger impact. Peace and plants. And now, without further ado, let's jump into this riveting episode. Korin, it's a pleasure to have you here. I'm very grateful for you. We can observe your muscular physique and witness your, confident advocacy towards veganism and bodybuilding, and particularly your straightforward approach to very much healthy eating showcasing your videos on TikTok and Instagram. And it kind of prompts that curiosity about the journey that brought you to this point. So if we strip away the external image, what are the key aspects and experiences of your life that we should know to truly understand who you are?
So just a little bit about myself. For me, I am, my name's Korin Sutton. I deployed to Operation Iraq and Freedom 3 and 4. I was in the military for about 8 years overall. Did 4 years in the United States Marine Corps, fully active service. And then after that, got out and did another 4 years in the United States Navy. And then once I finished doing that, that's when, pretty much to make a long story short, I transitioned to a plant-based diet and started becoming a personal trainer. But I was a personal trainer before I went vegan. So started training, and then I got into veganism. And then from there, that's when I started really pursuing into exercise science, because I have a degree in exercise science. Got my certification in sport nutrition. And also I'm a master fitness trainer as well. So I'm qualified in multiple fields of exercise. And then I got into bodybuilding as well. And that was mostly just mostly for me, but also to showcase and show people that, you could definitely build muscle on a plant-based lifestyle, and also show like the benefits of doing it correctly, especially if you do it healthy.
Absolutely. And so obviously you were in the military, and were you plant-based in the military, or was that something that happened afterwards?
When I was in the Navy Reserves, I kind of transitioned then, because I was going to school at the same time. And when I actually transitioned was when I saw the speech by Gary Roski He's like a vegan activist, and he actually came into my classroom and did a speak about going vegan. And you can watch the same speech on YouTube. It's called The Best Speech Ever, and it's really good. I highly recommend vegans and non-vegans to watch it. He does hit a lot of points when it comes to ethics, medical reasons, health reasons. Like he just hits so many different pain points. And when I watched when he came to my classroom and I listened to his speech, he definitely convinced me because we were learning about persuasive speaking and just how he articulated the message to me. It was just straightforward, straight to the points. He wasn't sugarcoating everything, and I'm a very open minded guy. So when he talked about certain points when it came to veganism, I never heard this before. So that's what made me explore that realm. I want to explore it and see if it's really true. Is there real benefits behind it? Do animals really do suffer? Do they really go through pain and suffering when it comes down to the slaughtering of animals? Because I've witnessed a lot of things just for humans. I went to war, so I saw the worst. I saw people at the worst of their core. You know what I'm saying? And I was in a combat unit. So when I saw that, like I was definitely interested to learn a little bit more what really happens in the animal agriculture when it comes to farming and stuff like that.
Absolutely. I think as well, as you just said, obviously you were in a combat unit. So I'm guessing that's very, from what I can imagine anyway, a very obviously violent role.
Hmm.
Or you see a lot of violence. So obviously, I think does that make you more receptive to obviously violence towards animals? Because obviously you're seeing that on a human scale, and then
Yeah,
animals that obviously are as sentient as us, they're obviously able to feel things as well. So does it make it more receptive? I guess.
yeah, I believe so because I've done some advocacy myself, and some of the people that I do relate to the most is butchers. Like I've seen hunters, I've seen butchers who talk to me, and they like during like an advocacy event, and they would be like, I want to go vegan because, especially a butcher or someone who worked in a slaughterhouse, because it's like they're literally seeing what's going on, and it's different when you're actually there, because when it's one thing watching it on a television screen or watching it through your phone, because it's just an image, and what people don't realize is that there a lot of people are already desensitized to watching TV. I mean, we see stuff, a scary movie, people getting disassembled in a scary movie, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or video games or something like that. Like, but we in our minds, it's like it doesn't really affect us because we're kind of desensitized. But when you're actually there, it's different because you can actually hear the screams. Like the frequency of how they're screaming is a lot different on television versus when you're actually there. It's a lot different when you actually smell the blood, you smell the shit, you smell death, like you smell that shit. It's a lot different when that shit's spraying on your face,
Hmm.
and because now it's not just a visual receptive, is true audio plus, like, sensory of smell, maybe even taste. Maybe the shit flies in your mouth. You know what I'm saying? I mean, some smell could be so wretched that you could taste it through your mouth. You know what I'm saying? So, and I've heard people saying, like, I mean, you would smell like that if you're working in a slaughterhouse. You'll smell like that for days. Even after you take a shower, you still smell like that. Um, so when I hear stories from slaughterhouse workers or butchers and stuff like that, like it's completely different when it comes down to just the normal Joe who works the 9 to 5 job, like scroll on Instagram, just talking. Like they're just talking shit, and they're just desensitized to it all.
That's the thing. I think like I see a lot of obviously a lot of where I am. There's a lot of obviously activism going on with the TV screens and that. But obviously, as you just said, when you sing on the TV, we are desensitized to it because we've got
Mm-hmm.
so many other things going round. So like, let's say we go see a horror movie and we see something where it is someone's being chopped up and decapitated. It's very much the same as when you watch that on a little screen. Like an animal. It's very
Yeah.
you kind of, you're away with the fairies. You don't really kind of see what's going on, and it's just, yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from with that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Absolutely.
I think so. When you saw that speech in your classroom, which I've actually seen the speech online, which was
Okay.
great. Um,
Mm-hmm.
once you've seen that, and like, would you say that you were probably the only people that kind of went along with this, then going plant based afterwards, or was it just you? Or was there a majority or a few people?
Truthfully, I don't know. I don't know who. I really didn't talk to anyone when I saw it.
I don't even remember it.
I don't even remember anyone in the class. You know what I'm saying? Like, because for me, it was about me. You know, it's something that like it didn't matter about. Like, I'm the type of guy like I don't care what other people do. You know what I'm saying? So I really didn't discuss it with anyone. I just remember that I went towards it and I kept on going. You know, I just pursued it. So the first thing I did was, you know, I went pescatarian. I like took out all the animal byproducts. I ate whatever that was left over. Went pescatarian for a little bit, and while I was transitioning, then once I realized that, hey, you know, I don't need like fish. I could find like, you know, ample amount of protein on a plant based diet. Then I finally switched over to plant based, and then I was doing that till like for 11 years, almost about to go on 12 years pretty soon. But yeah, that's how it went with me. But I don't remember really even discussing it with anybody. Maybe like a classmate here, like, oh, you know what he thought, you know, like just shooting the shit. But I don't have any names. I can't even say like if some people wanted to go vegan or not, you know, because you know some people might say, oh, I'm going to do it, but who knows? You know what I'm saying? It's so
Mm.
long ago too, so I wouldn't remember. You know?
I think as well, like, I think that obviously you went pescatarian first as well. Is I think that's everybody's journey, because that was me as well. I went on a pescatarian, then to
Yeah.
vegetarian. Obviously, at this point, I was still consuming dairy and eggs, and then I became very lactose intolerant, so that kind of blew that out for me. Um, and then
Mm-hmm.
transitioned to a fully whole foods plant based diet, probably, yeah, I'd say 5 or 6 years ago now, at most, and it's been one of the best, obviously, life choices that I've made as well. Um, but when you first went, did you find any kind of like health benefits? I'm guessing you obviously must have been a very active person in the first place. Um,
Mm-hmm.
well, from what I imagine anyway, would be you're very active, very muscular in the first place, and then obviously you've just kind of carried that on throughout.
Yeah, I mean, I was already pretty active. I was already working out like 5 days out of the week, bodybuilding train. But like, even with what I knew, I mean, I was still like a young trainer. I was a rookie, you know, so I didn't know everything. But my weight was at 225, so I was still holding some body fat, like for my age, because I think I was like somewhere between 18% body fat. So I was kind of, I mean, it's not like horrible, but it's on a body fat chart. It is considered overweight, but just by a little bit. So I was like a little overweight. And because I didn't know anything about nutrition, you know, I was just doing bro science stuff. And what some people don't realize is that during this time, I mean, this is when there was no social media wasn't even at its prime. It was at its infant stage, and you know, people weren't really using it. Just like maybe throw a picture up or you partying something, like no one wasn't really doing anything with it. Um, but with me, like for me, like I was just doing bro science, like reading men's health magazines and doing what it says, like, hey, you know, eat chicken, eat fish, you know. So I was doing a lot of tilapia, a lot of salmon, lot of chicken breasts, you know. I was eating like eggs, milk and cheese and stuff like that, you know, and vegetables, like just, you know, the normal diet any healthy guy who's trying to build muscle and get ripped would be doing, you know. And but I was holding like 18% body fat. I was doing tons of cardio. But then once I transitioned, yeah, there was tons of benefits, like without me even trying. And obviously, me knowing nutrition now, I mean, obviously, I put myself in a caloric deficit automatically by just removing eggs, removing cheese, dairy, like things that's like a little bit more calorically dense, especially like dairy and cheese. Like they're pretty calorically dense. Just removing that. Um, Removing some of those proteins like the chicken and maybe like once a week I would have like red meats. I would take that out, and then I was just eating more rice, more beans, a lot more vegetables because there was no real processed meats back then either. Like I remember going to Whole Foods, and the only thing I saw back then was it was either tofu, or they had like the tempeh, and I remember seeing I don't remember seeing seitan, but I remember seeing like tofurkey, but that shit was expensive, like the little deli meats, and it was like $7 a box, and I wasn't even buying that. I was like, yo, that's way too expensive, I was in college, I was like, that's way for that small little box, $7, like that's crazy, So I was just doing like, and truthfully, I didn't even mess with the tofu because I didn't even know what it was. You know what I mean? So I was just doing mostly just whole foods plant based, like everything rice and beans, very conventional. Like I was buying vegetables from the can. I was in high school. I was in college, so I was just like buying the cheapest things, and automatically just from doing that, I went from like 225, I believe, all the way down to like 165, 175. So I dropped tremendous amount of weight. But the thing was is that I was ripped. I had a six pack. My energy was still good, and I felt good. My skin was clearer. I had better mental clarity. I was sleeping better, more energized, more stamina. So like I just felt good. And people would ask me like, "Oh, how do you feel? You're getting small?" Like friends all be, "Oh, you're getting small, man." I'm like, it could be the case, but I didn't care about the size. I was like, I was looking at aesthetics. I was like, I might be getting small, but I got a six pack. Yeah. And I was like, and this is way, and in my mind, and back then I was like partying more and stuff. So I was like, girls don't care about how big you are, bro. I was like, as long as you're ripped, man, that's all that matters, man. So like, that's how I took it. I was like, y'all could say I could be a little bit smaller, whatever, man. Just buy tighter shirts. That's problem solved. And I was like, and I live in South Florida, so I'm like, we don't even wear shirts half of the time anyway. So like, we're at the beach all the time. You know what I mean? So like for me, it wasn't even a problem. And but then once I went like fully plant based and I found out more about like protein sources like tofu and finding out like really good recipes because I was eating like I was just throwing shit in a bowl, man, just eat like rice, broccoli, like tofu, like it wasn't any real meals. I was just like throwing it in and I didn't care. But once I started learning about like how to cook with the vegetables and make different foods like vegan lasagna and stuff like that. I started really learning how to cook. That's when I pretty much started doing bodybuilding, and then more products kind of started coming out. Like Tofurkey started doing like the Tofurkey sausages, and I was like, oh, okay, like this is a little bit more affordable. I could buy that, and then going through bodybuilding, and also like by that time I was getting my certification. So the second thing I got once I got my certified personal trainer was the nutrition, and then also hiring a coach at the same time because I was doing a lot of things at once, like school, getting my certifications, and doing bodybuilding. So it was just like I was flooding myself with tons of information on plant-based nutrition, on regular nutrition by itself, so I can get ripped. Really put the adequate amount of nutrients I really need, so I can like really put more muscle back on. And that's what happened. I just started putting on some muscle. Um, just kept on going from there. Pretty much.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, obviously going back 11 years, there can't have been many options for you back then. I would say it's only really
Yeah.
in the last, 5 years, I would say there's been an influx of literally every possible kind of replica you can think of. So it's just a very whole
Yeah.
foods, plant-based diet. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
so it was, I think when I first switched over myself, I went to a very much whole foods, plant-based diet as well. And then was very much educating myself to obviously not so much bodybuilding or but more running to kind of fuel that. And it was very much, you know, those sources of carbs, those proteins and fats that are actually going to fuel your body. And I found those
Yeah.
worked wonders for me as well, especially when obviously competing against other people, which was incredible. Um, but
Hmm.
when it comes to obviously bodybuilding, obviously the conventional bodybuilder diet is probably one of the unhealthiest. However, yours is very different because obviously normally it's, you know, chicken, rice, broccoli, and a few other bits and pieces.
Hmm.
However, your diet is very much, you know, very green, very colorful, nourishing, and giving you more nutrients than I think obviously the the rice, chicken, and broccoli could probably ever give you, because that is very much that staple meal.
Yeah, absolutely. But to be honest, in the beginning, when I first started, like it was very bodybuilder. Like I was very focused on macros when I first went vegan, first started doing bodybuilding. Because a lot of this was like just maturity of the longer I did it, the more I kept studying, I started learning more about the importance of nutrients, the importance of fiber intake, uh, all that stuff. You know, like different foods have different types of nutrients, like superfoods, and and the importance of being on a high fiber diet. Like a lot of things I learned, you know, throughout time because I even had my processed food. I remember one year I was counting macros. I was doing everything processed, you know, because all this Gardein was just popping out with everything like vegan fish. I was like, man, I haven't had fish like forever. I don't want to try that. Oh, vegan pork, vegan burgers, like all this stuff. I had that time until I started learning, like, man, even when you count macros, like, I don't feel good. Like, I was getting the same results. But to go back when I first started, like it was very bodybuilder. Like I was doing like tons of oatmeal. I was doing like big bags of mixed vegetables and then just like tofurkey sausages. It was just very like bland, very strict, you know, very rugged stuff. Like same shit every day. No creativity, no true flavor. I was getting some nutrients in, but it was just like very like if you saw my diet, it was trash, you know, like just tofurkey sausage with mixed vegetables and that's it. Or just like 3 bowls of oatmeal, that's it. Like and maybe an apple, you know. It was pretty bad. And then it evolved into that doing like Chipotle, Taco Bell, anything that really hit macros, you know, not so focused on micronutrients and fiber intake. But the longer the more I started educating myself in plant-based nutrition and learning about vitamins and minerals. And this is where a lot of people mess up, you know, because it's sometimes for I can only imagine the regular new vegan, especially these days, they're in that freezer section just like getting every single alternative out there, but they're not really focused on the micronutrients and the fiber because what usually happens is that they're taking the same knowledge that they already have on an animal based diet and they're just trying to apply that same lifestyle, those same lifestyle habits, which is bad lifestyle habits, or what I say the sad diet, right? The standard American diet, taking that same tactic that they already learned on a plant based diet, and they think it's going to be the same. And it's like, no, like you didn't know how to eat properly on an animal based diet, which intrigued you to go plant based. And but you don't just swap things out and expect the same results. Like you have to really understand how to hypernourish your body. You know, like you have to understand like what fruits and vegetables you have to be consuming when it comes to that food combination, so you can really get the proper amounts of nutrients you really need. And that's I learned that throughout time because I was reading tons of books. Because obviously, school just shows you the scientific method, like calories in, calories out, like ratio of macros. You know, that's it. But I had to do a lot of my own studying when it came to plant based nutrition, like learning underneath like Dr. Brooke Goldner, Dr. Michael Greger. Um, well, who else? Like, I got books here, like from Will Will Bullsit, Billswick from Fiber Fuel. Like I had to learn a lot of stuff on my own just to really understand. Like, hey, you can do bodybuilding, but like you have to really understand like vitamins, minerals, like hypernourishment, fiber. And like I eat super clean. Like it's really clean. I'm not eating tons of processed food and trashy foods. Like I have my cookies here and there. I have a piece of stuff for like Chipotle, Taco Bell. Like you barely, maybe once a year, you'll see me there. But it's not like how it was before. Majority of my diet is really clean, organic. I have, I'm in a better place now. I'm not, in college I was broke. Now I have more money, so I'm more financially stable. So I can afford like higher quality foods. I can get organic versus conventional. You
Absolutely.
know what I mean?
I do understand what you mean with obviously new vegans switching over, because like it's great that these things are there to obviously help, people transition over and make it slightly easier. But obviously there's an addiction process to it as well. So the new, like for instance, Ben and Jerry's, it's there, it's great. Everybody loves it. However, when it
Yeah.
becomes a staple, it's no better than the diet they were on beforehand. They're just kind of stuck in that same routine.
Hmm.
It's when you look into your more kind of the better options, for instead of like a fake mince, instead of choose lentils instead, something along the lines of that. That way you're really getting those, like the macros and the micros there that you need. Whereas the impossible meats, things like that, they're all great. They are nice. However, eating those on a regular basis is kind of, it's not helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when it comes to bodybuilding, there is more and more plant-based bodybuilders popping up now, more than ever before. But it's obviously still a very slow process. So, what is it that you think is like the big? Because I think it's the big misconception that it's not manly to be eating plants, and obviously, try building bodybuilding. I feel like it's a very conflicting lifestyle for some people because it's what they've already known.
Truthfully, I don't think it's the sport. Like people in bodybuilding don't criticize other bodybuilders. It's the audience that criticizes the bodybuilders. It's really
Mm,
just people online. It's not even the audience. It's people online that never bodybuilt before. They're like, they praise. They have like fans who never been to a bodybuilding show. They have this like I don't know, I don't even know what to call it. Like I guess an idol. Like they idolize these people online, but they never like really go to shows. Like what I'm saying, like they idolize the person, but as an influencer or online person, but they never actually go to the shows to watch like how the sport actually goes. Like that's what I've
mm,
noticed is that um, because when it's other athletes, like athletes who consume meat, I never ever had another athlete come to me and criticize me about my diet. They're usually intrigued, you know, because as an athlete, we both know like it takes a lot of work to do what we need to do. So they're actually impressed, and they're like, "Damn, like, are you serious? You're able to do all of that?" You know, even when it comes to like illegal drug use and stuff like that. Like I never had an athlete accuse me being on steroids, like because they know, like they see me, and they know, like we know who's on it and who don't. But even if we know, we don't like be calling each other out and stuff like that. Like if you're in an untested sport, you're in an untested sport. Like it is what it is. It's like you know, you're like everyone knows it's a choice up to at the end of the day, you know, but no one's criticizing each other. Like people might get pissed at scoring or something, but they're not criticizing, like, man, I should have beat that guy. Screw that, man. But not like criticizing the individual. I net like all the bodybuilders I've met, all the bodybuilding shows I've done over 28 different shows. I won in all of them. Like I have tons of trophies back there. You know what I mean? Like never had an athlete criticize me about my diet. They're usually asking
more
questions.
out of curiosity, I guess.
They're usually they're curious. They're asking questions. Some of them wanted help, like maybe to reduce animal intake because they're consuming more meat, and they'll be honest. They'll be like, I don't feel good eating all this stuff. Yeah, like I do the whey proteins. Like my stomach's all messed up. What do you take? Oh, I take this plant based. Is this safe if I take that? Look at me, bro. Like, yeah, man, you be okay, bro. Like protein. Oh, I'm gonna try it. I want to try it. And they try it, and they be like, oh man, I can't. Yo, I like the protein powder, man. It's good. Yeah. So like, it's all about like sharing ideas, sharing. We share ideas. People are curious, but there's no criticizing. Like I never had that. Like it's just people online who idolize other bodybuilders and or idolize like these influencers who promote meat. They're the ones that comes on other people's pages. That's why I see the most hate is really online. But in real life and online is fake life. Yeah, I think it's fake. It's fake. Okay, everyone pretends that they're something that they're not, and they do things that they know they will never do in person. You know. So, but in real life, even in real life, I have people come up to me and they're nice and they're curious. So that's how I look at it.
I think that's the thing. Like, I think with other athletes as well, or people looking to do that, it is more curiosity. Whereas, as you said, there is a lot of trolling online, and I've gone through the comment section of some of like I've had a look through your comment section the other day, and also people like,
oh yeah, I was getting murdered.
Like there was people telling you to take steroids, and then there's also telling people that you're on steroids. So there's no winning there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it was a post. I think about 6 posts, and like there was one that was like, "Oh, you should take steroids to get bigger," and then and I feel like whatever way you go, even if you were on it, somebody would accuse you of it, or even if you weren't on it, people will be like telling you to do it. So there's no win-win for you. It's just very much, a lot of people
because a lot of people don't, they, like I said, they don't go to shows. Like they're watching it from the screen. So it's like, if you're not getting out of your house, you're not actually going to these shows. You're not actually like doing the true research and doing the background. Like, like I've been in bodybuilding for a long time. So I've been to multiple shows. I even judged shows. I've judged a lot and been also into a lot of tested shows. And I also competed in a lot of untested. And it's a 90-day difference. Like you can totally tell. But especially in the sport of bodybuilding, you could definitely tell. But I know a lot of these people don't go to these shows, and when they're looking at it from a screen, you just have to think about it from their perspective. It's like if you've never been to a show and you're comparing, and then you have to remember some of the stuff that they're watching, because how social media works is like it's going to keep feeding you it's going to feed you the shit that you like, right? So if you like watching people that knocks on vegans all the time and says that vegans can't never build muscle, and you're getting the algorithm is going to keep feeding that information. So it's like it's programming. They're just going to keep flooding the information. And then what social media like to do is like throw a wild card at you. So they'll throw like a post like me, right? Like, here's a vegan, and then you're like, and then imagine this guy who's getting flooded with that information. They're like, that's impossible, because they just seen like 10 guys who's just telling them a bunch of shit about vegans. Like they're weak, they're mad, and they're showing, and even they're showing pictures, they're showing like the worst people in the worst people as examples, right? And then and that's what happens. But people don't know all the metrics and stuff like that. They don't understand like how this stuff really works. They're just consumers. It's a free app. You just everyone has it on their phone these days. They just watch and they're just consumers. They're not trying to figure out how all that stuff. They're just getting fed the shit that they believe. And that's how it's programmed. And unfortunately, it's sad, but that's how it is.
Yeah, I would say like back back a while ago, I was exactly the same, I think, because although I wasn't commenting on people, I had this misconception of what I thought vegans looked like. And then I can't remember the magazine it was where Nimai Delgado was on the front of it. And I saw that for the first time. I was like, well, that can't be true. That guy must be on steroids. And then obviously
Mm-hmm.
over time learning, you realize that is a possible thing, and we can create muscle. You can have a physique like on a plant-based diet. But
Yeah.
obviously, with the misconceptions that I had at that time, I was like, that can't be real. And over time, it's obviously the more knowledge you get, the more information you get, you slowly you do change your mind, because obviously knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So are you still like tracking your macros now? Even though like you obviously doing this on a day-to-day basis, are you still tracking your protein? Are you still tracking your your macros and your micros?
Yeah. Yeah. I track it. I've been tracking macros for like 11 years since I started like bodybuilding. Pretty much, like I've been tracking forever. Like for me, it's not a problem, you know. So I enjoy tracking. Some people don't like it, but I like it because it keeps myself accountable, and I'm just very analytical. Like I run a business, so I track a lot of things. Like tracking what I eat is probably like the smallest denominator of what I track. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's not really an issue for my when it comes to my lifestyle. You know what I mean? So, but I enjoy it because if I want to maintain the physique that I have, if I want to stay healthy, if I want to optimize my health, I don't want any type of surprises. Like I'm that type of guy. Like if something's going on, like let's figure out and see what we can do to solve this. And because I'm tracking, it's not like I'm trying to figure out like, well, what am I doing? No, I have the information right here. Let's see what we can clean up. Maybe it's something I need to clean up. Maybe it's something I need to do or readjust. I'm a person that likes to react very fast. And I don't wait. I waste time and just thinking about figuring like, oh, poor me, but track, like I said, tracking for me is like the smallest denominator in my life. So it's nothing, you know.
Mm. Yeah, I feel like I do fall in and out of tracking. Like I will track for months and months on end, and then I kind of have like one off day where I won't, and it kind of disrupts a whole entire kind of like month, and then I have to get back on it. And it's very hit and miss with tracking. Um, so how much protein are
hmm
you having per day now to kind of keep the physique you're in? And obviously you're still competing as well, aren't you?
Oh well, I'm on an off season, so right now I'm just bulking. Just trying to get more calories in and put on a little bit more muscle. But right now I'm doing around like 185 grams of protein per day. It's
And
about
that's
that.
coming from like your seitan, tofu, and then obviously everything else.
About half of it will come from mostly from the seitan and maybe like a soy free tofu or a regular tofu and either a protein shake or like I do like right now I'm doing like the Kite Hill Greek yogurt. So that's like my main rotations and those are the things that I'll switch out. It'd be like seitan, regular tofu or soy free tofu or protein shake or a yogurt, but everything else, the remaining amount would come from whole foods like sweet potatoes, black beans, rice, peanut butter, Brussels sprouts, kale, onions, bell peppers, mushrooms. um I think I already said spinach, right? So like a lot of that is coming from the whole foods because they do have protein in it as well.
Yeah, I think there's people will underestimate the amount of protein that these kind of whole foods do have, because, for instance, you don't think of rice as being like having a protein source inside it, although obviously a carb source. It does also have varying amounts of protein as well as like black beans and things like that. People just see them as these, just side dishes as such, and forget that there's protein sources
Yeah.
within.
That yeah, because again, it goes back to what I said. It's that sad diet mentality. Like everything's very black and white. People, even when I grew up with with the pyramid and the my plate. So it's like, you didn't see the protein section with beans and rice and vegetables. Protein was meat, fish, poultry. That's it. And then they categorize everything as different food groups, like fruits, vegetables, nuts, sugar, and snacks. Like they segregated everything. But people don't understand that, like, yeah, you can get protein on a plant-based diet. You just need to know first. You need to know what your protein goals are and what your fitness and aesthetic goals are, because that plays a significant role. Not everyone needs to be consuming like a high amounts of protein. You have like Joe Schmoes out there who's not even going to try to do a bodybuilding show trying to eat 1 gram of protein per body weight. Like, I don't think it's really necessary if you're not really doing it competitively. If you're just trying to just have a nice physique and your work ethic isn't as competitive or as rigid as a professional bodybuilder, you don't need to do that. But a lot of people think that they are training at that level. I even thought, and the reason I'm saying it is not just I'm not trying to make fun of people. I used to think the same because I used to read the damn magazines. Now everyone's following other influencers, and they're following their favorite bodybuilders, and they're like, I want to be like them, but they're not really, they're not investing into coaches and stuff like that. They're just following free advice. What they, it's like, I was there, I used to be there. And then once you really invest in coaching, you really start doing sport, you're like, I see why you need 1 gram of protein per body weight or a little bit more, because these, we're training hard. Some of these guys train like 3 hours in the gym. You know what I'm saying? Like, their training regimen is ridiculous. And especially if you're on the sauce, of course you need a lot more. Your body's like on a turbo engine, so of course you need a lot more. That's why some of these guys, like, there might be like 250 pounds or 220 pounds, but they're consuming up to 300 grams of protein. They're on the sauce. Of course, that's why they're doing that. Their body is able to break all that stuff down, no sweat, and actually utilize it. You know what I mean? But again, there's just, it's a lot of people aren't informed of what really goes on, and everyone thinks that they're doing their best. You know what I'm saying? like it's just it's just how it is. But once you get a professional, that's when a professional would definitely tell you the truth and the reality. Like, hey, man, you don't need to be doing this much for what you're trying to do. Let's I know your dreams are here, but let's bring you down to reality. Like, you're a dad with 4 kids and you work at a cubicle, and you only have enough time to work out for an hour. So I don't think you need that much protein. Like we could get you to be right and be fit. Like, you could look good for yourself, but like, here's the reality. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to bring you back from the stars and put you back into reality, man, and just be real. And that's when, because I do it with my students as well. Like, I'll be telling them, like, you don't really need that much protein for what you're trying to achieve. And they get great results. You know what I mean? So that's all it is. And like I said, I used to be there. So, because I know some people be like, "Yo, that's bullshit, bro." And I'm like, I used to be there, man. I used to do it. I used to pound those chicken breasts, pound the ribs, pound the steak. I wasn't even counting back then. I was just like, protein. Hey, Ronnie Coleman, bro. Yeah. Like,
Yeah, it has been pushed more and more. I think protein, but it's like when we actually work out how much people actually need on just if you're like on a sedentary, sitting down working and not having, you don't need that much. But it's been pushed so much that it's like constant that we need it in every meal, where you need a huge portion every meal. Whereas obviously our body's making it up during the day. It's okay to skip out on a tiny bit on on a breakfast if you got it in your lunch and dinner, and you don't have like a giant athletic goal.
Absolutely. And even what sport you do really determines on how much protein you need. Like, if you're like doing, like, a lot of guys who are doing like endurance sports, like long endurance sports, they don't need a lot of protein either. They need more, like, probably more carbohydrates, just because they need more effective energy, because it's more of an active sport. and they're not really trying to put on. They're not trying to look like a bodybuilder. You know what I'm saying? They might just want to look nice, lean, fit. Have a nice aesthetic look, but they're not trying to, look like any bodybuilder. So they don't someone like that, and especially with their training regimen, their training regimen is different. They're doing more cardiovascular stuff versus actually lifting weights. So that will also determine as
Hmm.
well.
So obviously, with you're very active, you're very healthy. What are your kind of non-negotiables when it comes to like your everyday?
Like when it comes to
Just
like
just
working out and
working
stuff
out,
like
or
that.
just having the most like wellness to your body. Like like a lot of people like have the pillars of like sleep, nutrition. Yeah, those.
Yeah, so for me, it's like definitely working out is definitely a non-negotiable. Like I always have to work out. It doesn't matter if I'm traveling or what's going on in my life. I usually find some time to work out, and even if I'm like really busy, I'll do something. Like I'll do something to just stay active. Maybe even if it's just a light workout or maybe it's just cardio that day. I'll figure out something. I usually don't just like take a whole week off for no apparent reason. Like, oh, I'm traveling, I'm going on vacation, I want to take a whole week off. Just because when it comes to working out, I look at it as a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. Like I enjoy feeling strong. I enjoy feeling fit. It actually makes me feel more calmer throughout the day. I just feel good when I do work out. Um, every food is consistently coming in and coming out. If when I'm working out, because I notice like if I do a week without working out, things starts to slow down a little bit. So that's what. And even I noticed with me drinking water. Like if I don't work out for like after like 2 3 days straight, like my water consumption starts to reduce because obviously I'm not excreting out of that water. I'm not using the water, and I like drinking a lot of water, especially the foods that I eat. Um, so that's one. Number two is definitely getting proper rest and sleep. That's definitely important because just as much as you work out, you have to really take care of resting and hydrating your body for recovery because that's the only way your body's going to build. And that's why I use like an Aura ring. I track my see, so I track a lot of stuff. I track my sleep. You know what I mean? So I really try to focus on that. Um, and then with foods is really making sure I hyper nourish my body. So when I talk about hyper nourishment, I usually each day I want to make sure I'm getting all my vitamins and minerals, and my fiber intake is high. So even if it's a day where I'm eating crap, like I want to have a pizza, whatever, or whatever junk food I want to eat out, just have fun junky food. I know that if I had healthy foods in the morning, I will feel a lot better the next day if I had some junky food later that day, and waking up the next day I feel better versus like if I had none at all. Yeah, I notice a significant difference. How I stool, how I sleep, how the energy is being utilized in my body. Because once you start dialing in into your health, your body does start getting more sensitive to things. Um, and it's one of the reasons why I don't like you barely see me with like alcohol in my hand or something like that. It's really rare if I drink. I can literally count on my hands the times I drank each year. It's like you know, one year, zero another year, five on another year, you know. But and when I say five, like five drinks, like in the whole entire year, like it's really rare because again, that when you understand health, when you understand nutrition, like nothing else really matters, like socializing, stuff like that, because it's your life and you only have one and you can have fun without it. You know what I mean? Like I learned that a long time ago. I'm like, yeah, because I used to be an avid drinker, especially when I was younger. But I realized that, only thing I was doing is kind of masking insecurities, what I'm saying, that I had internally. So But once you start really getting into health and you have more self confidence in yourself, you realize that you don't need these devices um, to have fun, to have a conversation, to hang out with people. You know what I mean? So I guess that would be some like non-negotiables. You know?
Absolutely. I did the other day put out a post for some people to ask you questions. And one, I got
Okay.
two big ones here that came up quite a lot. So this one is, where is it gone? Here it is. That that your chest is popping, probably the best chest I've seen. How do you get a chest like that?
I mean, my chess is like one of my best assets, and there's a reason behind it. The reason behind it is because when I was a teenager, I had a bird chest, you know, so it was one of those things where I was pretty insecure when I started training, because I started going to the gym when I was 13. And I remember I would lay down because I had a big frame. I had a big chest, like big rib cage, big chest. And I remember like if I laid down, my ribs will pop out and like all this was flat. So it looked like I don't know, it looked weird, it didn't look right. And like people would make fun of me, like, yo, you're weird because some people would lay down and it's all flat, But when I lay down, it's like you see my ribs would be popping out, and then everything's be flat. So look, I don't know, I look like weird as hell. But then when I went to the gym, I remember getting a trainer, because back in the days it was like 24 Hour Fitness was doing this like summer special where they give you a trainer. It was super cheap, and they train you for the summer, like one or twice a week, for 12 weeks or something like that. And the trainer was like, I told him, he's like, what's some parts you want to work on? And it's like my chest, and he's like, what's wrong with the chest? He's like, I'm the bird chest, and I told him the same thing. Like I lay down, like I lift up my shirt. I was like, see, like my ribs are out, and he's like, that's a good thing. And I was like, what do you mean? I look like a freak, he's like, because he's like, you got a big frame. He's like, that's what it is. So that means that you'll be able to put on some massive muscle. It's just that you're growing right now. So like everything's going to look weird when you're growing, like so he's like, everything's just like growing right now. He's like, and what's this? This is a sign that your body you have like a big torso, like you have a big frame. So when you have a big frame like that, you can put on a lot of muscle. And he's like, we just need to start working on that chest to get it bigger. So remember, first exercise was just like some hanging dips, like assisted hanging dips, and I got this burning sensation. Like it felt like someone took a knife and just like jabbed it into my chest and went like that. I was like, ah! And he's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I feel like someone's like ripping it. He's like, that's the muscles growing. So I was like, oh, it's okay, I can't be a bitch. So I was like, kept going. And then I guess like, because I was so insecure about it, it was one of the things I focused on the most. I hit other body parts, but like I hyper focus on my chest more. And also I like The Rock. I grew up watching wrestling. I always wanted to do like, that with the chest, because I was like, yo, because Rock was wrestling. I used to watch WWF all the time, and the Rock would come out and he'd be like, pop his chest muscles. And I'm like, man, how you do that? Hulk Hogan would do that. He'd be like, pop, pop, pop. I was like, what? And I'm like, how you do that? I'm like, I don't even know how you do that. And I remember telling the trainer about it, and he's like, oh, once you could do it. It's just it has to get bigger. Yeah. So he's like, you just have to keep working. So I think those two things, like the insecurity plus also the wrestling stuff, like like I was just like, I have to do the titty pop, the chest pop, 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 pop. Yeah. And then eventually it just started growing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Love that. The second question I had, this also a hilarious one, is that your leg muscles are bigger than my future. What exercise should I be doing to grow them the size of yours?
Well, that's a good question because like I personally feel my legs are my weakest. You know, that's to be very honest with you because um me I just finished doing the bodybuilding last year and that's what the judges told me. They're like, you need to put on your legs. You know, I was like, yeah, so it's like, so, but I'm glad that they said that. It really helps with my ego, but with that said, I mean, I just do like, there's a lot of combinations that I do with legs. When I'm cutting, I do more high volume. So, and some of the stuff that I've done to help seeing leg growth is, you got your squats, you got your deadlifts, but then when it comes to like the machines like leg presses and stuff, um, there's a combination of high repetition and then also heavy. So, for example, there's this one exercise that I did for a while that really helped with leg growth, and it's called the three variation leg press. So it's like you do 30 reps with your feet in a neutral position, then 30 reps with your feet spread out, angled out like that, rotated outwards, and then 30 reps with your feet together or with your toes inward like that, touching with your feet rotated inwards, and you do 30 reps. So it's like 90 reps, no breaks, like 90 reps for like 3 or 4 sets. There was times I did 5 sets and I would spend like literally 30, 40 minutes on the leg press doing that shit because it's gruesome, right? But I would do stuff like that, and then or just and then triple drop sets on leg extensions or leg curls or just high repetitions or heavy, and I would like combine them. I would like change up the variations so much. So like maybe one day I would do that leg press, that crazy leg press routine, and then the following week I would do just heavy leg press, and then the week after maybe a drop set, and I would do that with every single workout. Where one workout might be heavy, another second workout would be high repetition, another workout would be drop sets, you know. So it's just a combination of different things, and then also you have periodization training. 'Cause I've been training for a long time, so it's always about just changing things up, just adding volume, adding weight. So there's some I've done periodizations where I spend 12 weeks just lifting heavy, or another 12 weeks with just high volume. Like all the workouts are high volume. It's just all different combinations of to stimulate the muscle the best way, you know. So that's what I've done. It's never one thing, but it's all the exercises I could tell you is probably the same exercises you probably already know. Yeah, it's just how you're doing it. Like I said, if it's leg extensions, drop sets, triple drop sets, pyramid sets, burnouts. Same exercise, just different types of volumes, different types of set routines. You know what I mean? Leg extensions, Smith machine squats, assisted squats, Bulgarian squats, lunges. Like I've done them all. It's just I've know one thing. You know what I mean?
It's one of those things where I am now. I think in the last year I've actually started actually enjoying leg day slightly. I used to hate it, and then I did get a trainer for a bit, and I've started to enjoy it over time because at first it was one of those exercises that I used to. I think with a lot of people, they go into the gym and be like, I don't really fancy doing this today, and just kind of skip it. And now I'm very much enjoying it at the best of times.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like a love hate thing. It's like I hate doing it, but I like the results that I get out of it. So that's what encouraged me to do it. And I actually get mad if I can't do it because like the legs make you look proportioned and it makes you feel strong. Like like when you wear some nice pants or something, like you look good in the pants. It's not like the skin. Or if I'm wearing some nice shorts, I don't have to wear some shorts covering my knees. I can wear the shorts mid thigh. Yeah, and people be like, "Dang, this guy got some legs on him." Sometimes I wear the chongas, right? Like the
Oh,
Brazilian
yeah.
speedos. Like you can only rock those if you got some good legs. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm in Miami, so I'll be rocking those sometimes, and like I'm like you can only rock them if you got some good legs. You know what I'm saying? And you're just walking on the beach, you're standing there, you're flexing, and you just see it, and people are like, damn, you know. But that's the thing. It's like the legs are tough. You know, they are tough to grow, especially if they're long. You got some long limbs, like they're really hard to grow. And that's why I say it's like one of my weaknesses is that, and I really tried. Like this year is one. That's my goal. Is like, yeah, I'm going to try to get them big. You know, so right now I'm focusing on more heavier lifts because I've been kind of away from that for a while. And because I was dieting for all year, last year I was dieting, so it was just mostly just high repetitions. But this year I'm like, no, I'm going to go pretty heavy. Like I'm going to try to really bring them up with some heavy lifts because I haven't done them in a while. So I want to periodize, like go like maybe I think I told myself about maybe like 6 months, just to lift it heavy, really focus on that and just try to see like what type of results can I get just going balls to the wall, lifting heavy on legs. Yeah, and then start going back into like then kind of go into like a little hybrid where it's like there's some heavy lifts with some like high volume because the with the heavy lifts that's the only way you can build up your strength levels. And if you want to do more high volume, I want to do a high volume with heavier weights. You know what I'm saying? So like, and that's how they kind of play hand to hand. Is like you have to do some strength training. You have to do like some heavy lifts because if you want the strength to go up, so you can do high reps with heavier weights, you have to bring up your strength first.
Hmm.
You know, so it's all like a balancing act when it comes to those
Absolutely.
things.
So I am going to wrap this up in a second, but before we do, I do have a quick fire round, just to kind of see your favorites of these. So, your favorite protein?
Favorite protein. So I guess well, it's right
Seitan.
now it's
Okay.
seitan from Upton's. Yeah, Upton's seitan.
Your
That's my
favorite
favorite.
exercise?
Favorite exercise. Mm, I guess the cable crossovers. I guess that's my favorite.
Worst
Yeah,
exercise?
cable crossovers. You know, cable flies. You know, I guess I don't know. I really don't have one, but you know what? Probably the spin bike. I actually enjoy that the most. Like spinning. I I really enjoy that. Even though I don't like I'm bulking right now, so I try not to do so much. But I do enjoy like riding the bike, like doing the spin bike.
Love that. Um, the worst exercise and the most underrated exercise?
That three variation leg press. That I think that thing's like that workout is just a killer, man. It's like when I first my coach was the one who created that workout. I don't know where he got it from. I think he got it from the Abyss of Hell, you know, because I was just like when he introduced me that workout, I was like, how many reps you want me to do? Like 90? I was like, what? This is insane, bro. Like, I was like, you're just making shit up at this point. He's like, no, do it. And I'm like, 30, 40 minutes on one machine. You know, your legs are toast after that. But that's definitely the
The
worst. And
most
what was the other
underrated?
one? Um, Bulgarian squats. That's underrated. Like they're tough, but like it's I know it's something that a lot of people like they avoid doing that. Yeah, I do them because it really works. Like that's literally the best workout for legs. Just so because it's those unilateral leg exercises. So you're just all that tension is getting activated into that quad. You know.
Absolutely. There's I've actually created a meal tonight because I was reading the Plant-Based Athlete the other night, and obviously you have 2 recipes in there. So tonight I do have the vegan taco bowl that you stuck in there. So I'll let you know.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's a good one. And truthfully, you can that taco bowl you can transfer it into a like an egg bowl roll. Same ingredients, just use just egg and and so teriyaki, it's called soyaki sauce, and it's like an egg roll. It's almost, so if you use just egg and then just make a little omelet and then crush that in there with the seitan and the, because I think the taco bowl has, does the taco bowl has use coleslaw or
Lettuce, I think.
Okay, yeah, you have to switch it out with coleslaw, and switch out the lettuce for coleslaw, and don't use tomatoes, and then use the same seitan, just egg and soyaki sauce. You have an egg roll bowl, and that's fire. It's like an egg roll, but like a bowl, and it's like you're gonna be like, man, this is fire.
I
It's
definitely
really
have
good.
to try that. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. I'll have to let you know how it goes.
Yeah, no doubt.
Thank you so much. Where can we find you?
You can find me on all social media platforms. Just type in my name, Korin Sutton, or you could go to my website at bodyhdfitness.com, or email me at korinsutton@bodyhdfitness.com.
Perfect.